Hey guys, so today I'm making homemade chili with some delicious skillet cornbread. This is the perfect comfort meal. So let's get started with the recipe. Okay guys, so I'm starting by placing the pot I'm gonna be making my chili in over medium heat. Then I added in about a tablespoon of butter. Next, I added in some diced up celery, some minced garlic, and a little bit of red onion. Now you can use red onion or yellow onion, either one is fine, okay? And you're gonna let those veggies cook together for about 2 to 3 minutes until they soften a little. Next, I'm just gonna take my ground beef, and I'm using about 1.5 pounds of ground beef here, and I'm just gonna add it in the pot with the veggies. And you wanna use your pot spoon to help break up the ground beef in the pot as it's cooking, okay? Next, I'm gonna start seasoning up my ground beef a little. So I'm using a little bit of ground coriander. I'm gonna also add in some salt, some black pepper, dried oregano, some onion and garlic powder, all-purpose seasoning, and I'm using this all-purpose seasoning here. It's my new favorite to use. It's full of flavor. It's the best. I'm also gonna add in, of course, some chili powder, and you want to add in a good amount of the chili powder because we are making chili. And lastly, some paprika. So add in all of those seasonings into the ground beef and give it a good mix to combine the seasonings with the meat. So after I mix the seasonings into the ground beef, I'm gonna add in 1 tomato that I diced up. I'm using a fresh tomato, but you can use the canned diced tomatoes if you'd like. Okay, so add that into the meat. And then I'm also gonna add 1 packet of the Lipton onion soup mix packets. So you want to add the whole packet of the Lipton onion soup mix, alright, and mix it into the ground beef as well. So next, basically, I'm going to finish adding the rest of the remaining ingredients into my chili. So I'm adding in some water. You can use beef broth instead of water if you'd like, but I'm using water, and I'm just gonna season it up really well. And also I'm gonna be using beef bouillon now in the chili as well. All right, so I added in a little bit of beef bouillon powder and just mixed it into the chili. And now I'm gonna add in my beans. So when it comes to the beans, you can use black beans, you can use kidney beans, pinto beans, any of those type of beans in your chili. But what you want to do before you add the beans in the chili is rinse out the beans. Okay, so rinse out the beans to remove the liquid it comes in, and then you're gonna add the washed beans into the chili. Next, I added in some tomato sauce. So you can use tomato sauce or tomato paste. I decided to use tomato sauce today. So I also added in a little bit of chipotle salsa, chipotle pepper sauce. Okay, it adds so much delicious flavor into the chili. Give it a try and see if you like it. Okay, so lastly, I added in a little bit of sugar into my chili, and then I mixed it into the dish. So after you add in all of those ingredients into the chili, you're gonna mix it, give it a good stir to combine all the ingredients together. So I'm gonna cover the chili and I'm gonna let it simmer and cook for about 1 hour so that the chili can thicken and that ground beef is nice and tender. Okay, so you want to cover it, let it come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you're gonna let the pot simmer, low down the heat, and let the pot simmer and cook for 1 hour until the chili is nice and thick. So while my chili is cooking, I'm gonna get started on making my cornbread. So I'm making skillet cornbread today. So I'm using my cast iron skillet, and what I'm doing right now is I preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and I'm just buttering the inside of my cast iron skillet with the butter, and then I'm gonna place the skillet in the oven so that it can remain nice and hot. So while the skillet is in the oven, I'm gonna make my cornbread batter. So I'm adding some flour in a large bowl with some cornmeal. So I'm just gonna add in the rest of my dry ingredients in the bowl. So I'm adding the salt, the sugar, and the baking powder. And then you want to give those ingredients a mix to combine them together. And then I'm going to start adding in my wet ingredients. So I'm adding in the eggs beaten. So I beat it in the bowl separately, and then I'm adding it into the dry mixture. Next, I'm going to add in some milk, and I also added in some oil. And then you're going to mix all of those ingredients together into the dry ingredients until you have a nice smooth batter. The batter won't be completely smooth. It's gonna be a little lumpy, and that's absolutely fine for making this cornbread recipe. Okay, so you just want to mix it until everything gets really combined and you have a batter. And then what you're gonna do is remove your skillet from the oven, and you're gonna place it on the stove, and you're gonna pour that batter into the skillet. So for this skillet right here, I ended up doubling my batter recipe to make a really large cornbread. Okay, so keep that in mind. Depending on the size of your skillet, you might want to double the recipe. And yeah, I just poured all of that into my warm skillet, and then you're going to put it back into the oven to finish baking. So the purpose of putting the butter in the skillet and then placing it in the oven, when you add the batter into the warm skillet with the butter, that kind of crisp makes the edges nice and crispy, and it just tastes so delicious when it's finished. So place that in the oven and let it bake for about 25 to 30 minutes until the cornbread is nice and golden brown and a fork or a knife poked in the middle comes out clean. And then you let it cool for a few minutes, and then you can cut up your cornbread and serve it. Alright, so I'm gonna set the cornbread aside and let's get back to the chili. Alright, you guys, so once the chili has thickened, you can taste it while it's cooking, and make sure you taste it before you turn it off from the stove. Taste it, make sure the sauce tastes right. Make sure you don't need to adjust any of the seasonings, and once it's tasting good and delicious, you can remove it from on the stove. And that is it for our chili recipe. So all that's left to do now is to serve up a nice warm bowl of this delicious chili. Alright, so pour some in a bowl and add your favorite toppings. So some of the toppings I like to use on my chili are, so today I use some cheese. I'm using a mixture of mozzarella cheese and cheddar cheese, and then I'm also gonna top it with some cilantro and also some Frito chili cheese corn chips. Okay, so you can use the chili cheese flavor or you can use the original flavor. It adds a nice delicious touch to your chili. So if you've never tried it, give it a try and let me know if you liked it in the comments down below. Alright, and yeah, you guys, those are the toppings I used for my chili today. And of course I served it with a piece of my delicious cornbread. It was so good, it was so yummy. And that is it for this recipe today, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you give it a try. If you do, let me know in the comments down below how it turned out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see my upcoming videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.